Hello and welcome back to Not Fake News. Happy to see you guys again. I'm going to take us right into a George Bush story from Paris Wade. Breaking, George Bush just broke. Look what sick thing he admitted to Trump. The man responded, by the way, I always deal with today's stories. Sometimes it was yesterday's breaking story or something happened, but mostly you're always going to get today's stories from me. And if I do put a classic, like a classic Brunello or a Sheriff Clark or a Trey Gowdy, it's because you have to have those. You have to see these people. They're great, right? But we're all about new breaking stories here at Not Fake News. And, oh yeah, they're not fake. So that's another reason why you should always come back and check in each day to find out what's going on. The man responsible for giving President Barack Hussein Obama a supermajority in the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives bashed Donald Trump. Yep. George W. Bush attacked Trump over his travel ban for terror states. This guy is such a rhino. Ooh. Those bad words. Share this article if you're tired of the Bush family. Tell me that's not the end. This guy's a rhino. The end. George Bush doesn't think the enemy is in the media. Bush says power is addictive, and we need to get an independent media to hold people like me to account. He sounds a lot like Hillary Clinton. Look what George W. Bush said to Matt Lauer on Monday. The bedrock of our freedom, a bedrock of our freedom is the right to worship freely. And you see, I understand right off the bat, Matt, this is an ideology conflict, and people who murder the innocent are not religious people. According to Breitbart, Bush then said that we were currently fighting a war on terror in retreat. Yeah, this is coming from a guy that got us into two wars at once. Why is George W. Bush outright lying too? And people who murder the innocent and not religious people, Bush said, he has not seen ISIS. They're very Islamic. Oh, goody. We got his right from the horse's mouth.
You took office in 2001 after an extremely contentious election, controversial end to that. The Supreme Court decided it. The nation was incredibly divided. How would you compare the divisions we faced then to what we're living through right now?
You know, it's hard to compare times. One thing, though, is for certain, the job's a tough job. Everybody looks at the presidency when they campaign one way, then they get in office and find out there's a reality to the job. And, there's been times where we've been divided. I remember growing up as a kid, and when I got out of college, we were really divided. And it requires a lot of people coming together to try to make us united.
But there's enormous division right now, and although President Trump has said he hopes to unify the country, have you in the first month seen him do or say anything that, in your opinion, would be an attempt to heal the wounds of the...
I have. I've heard him say it about 15,000 times. I want to bring us together. I want to bring in jobs. You know, when you get jobs and you make people happy, it brings people together. When you say that I want everyone together, when you put $100 billion into the black and Latino communities, that means you want to bring people together. It means you're doing the right thing. See,
Well, first of all, there's only been 1 month in office.
Okay, thanks, George.
He's got 4 years. Secondly, I think you have to take the man for his word that he wants to unify the country, and we'll see what...
Yeah, he's the president. You're supposed to take the president of his word.
The news media being so split up. When I was president, you mattered a lot more because there was like 3 of you, and now there's all kinds of information.
Oh, snap. You saw Matt Lauer's face? He kind of hated that.
It's just a different world.
Well, you bring me to an interesting point because you were a guy who faced both praise and criticism from the media during your time in office, even at the times where you were dealing with the worst criticism, where it must have been very difficult to hear and read some of the things that were being said by the press in this country. Did you ever consider the media to be the enemy of the American people?
I consider the media to be indispensable to democracy. that we need an independent media to hold people like me to account. I mean, power can be very addictive.
It was different back then. They did not treat you the way they're treating Trump.
And it can be corrosive, and it's important for the media to call to account people who abuse their power, whether it be here or elsewhere. One of the things I spent a lot.
What are we doing? It's the media that are abusing their power, sir. He's actually not paused right now, and he's actually thinking about my question. He has no answer.
A lot of time doing was trying to convince a person like Vladimir Putin, for example, to accept the notion of an independent press.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to, tell others to have an independent free press when we're not willing to have one ourselves.
You mentioned Vladimir Putin. So many questions about the contacts between Trump associates during the campaign and the Russian government. As a former president, would you like to see a special prosecutor appointed to look into this once and for all and give the American people answers?
Well, first of all,
Oh,
I think
are you talking about Hillary, Matt? You're not talking about Hillary's emails and a special prosecutor? Oh, you mean the fake thing that you made up about Russia? Oh, okay.
need answers. Whether or not the special prosecutor is the right way to go or not, you're talking to the wrong guy. I have great faith in Richard Burr, for example. He's the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Really good guy and an independent thinker. And, if he were to recommend a special prosecutor, then I'd be
open.
A lot more credibility with me. But I'm really, I've never been a lawyer. I'm not sure the right avenue to take. I am sure, though, that question needs to be answered.
It was only 8 or 9 months after you took office that the attacks of 9/11 occurred, the worst terrorist attack on American soil. And just after those attacks, you gave a speech and you said this: I also want to speak tonight directly to Muslims throughout the world. We respect your faith. It's practiced freely by many millions of Americans and by millions more in countries that America counts as friends. Its teachings are good and peaceful. It's very different talk than what we're hearing today about.
I gotta tell you, I do not remember hearing him say that after 9/11. I remember him saying we are gonna knock the shit out of ISIS. That's all I remember seeing on TV 24/7. I'm probably wrong because I can't. Well, you know what? I was just gonna say I can't imagine them outright lying and making that up. But then again, I can. I really can. So let's just go with 50-50 here. 50-50 that he said that. Because this is, too sweet. It's just not him. I do not remember hearing him say that. And I watched that whole thing happen.
A Muslim ban. Do you think the president's position on this has been well thought out?
I think it's very important for all of us to recognize one of our great strengths is for people to be able to worship the way they want to or not worship at all. I mean, the bedrock of our freedom, a bedrock of our freedom is the right to worship freely. And you see, I understood right off the bat, Matt, that this was an ideological conflict, and people who murder the innocent are not religious people. They want to advance an ideology, and we have faced those kind of ideologues in the past.
But by banning people from 7 predominantly Muslim countries from entering this country, do we make it easier or harder to fight the war on terrorism?
Well, I think it's very hard to fight the war on terrorism if we're in retreat. And I think we learned that lesson that, if the United States decides to pull out before a free society emerges, it's going to be hard to defeat them. The enemy is very good about exploiting weakness. It's going to be very important, if that's the goal, to defeat ISIS, which I believe it should be, that we project strength. Now, whether or not the domestic politics plays helps them or not,
Just want to make sure I understand. You for or against the ban? You're against the ban?
I am for an immigration policy that's welcoming and that upholds the law.
On a more general note, you sat at the inauguration, you listened to President Trump's inaugural address, and he talked about American carnage.
Yeah.
And the fact that so much has gone wrong in this country and so much is wrong. Is that the America you see when you travel around this country?
Well, the America I see often is the America that these vets represent, people willing to sacrifice for the greater good, to put their lives on the line, and then come back and make America a wonderful place to live. And That's why I'm here. I'm selling this book because I want America to realize how fortunate we are to have people in our midst, and that we got to help them transition from being a vet to a civilian.
And you transitioned me perfectly. So and you're going to stick around. Let me tell people we also want to talk more about portraits of courage and meet some of the military veterans that the president is honoring. First, though, a few of the stories behind.
I'm sorry about that. That actually popped up. I wanted you to just see that. That's one of the videos I have. Media blackout. Trump just saved the lives of 1,500 women and children, and the media is silent. He stopped a major pedophile ring across the country that you probably don't even know about. Yeah, him and Jeff Sessions. Bad guy, huh? But, yeah, that was pretty good there, George, even though you're just trying to sell a book. And for a second, I'm like, wow, George is like sounding like he's making sense, and boom, selling a book. Knew there was something wrong with that. Why is George W. Bush making the rounds? Expressing his doubt? Decision? Current hold on a second. Yeah. I'll be there. Fine, I'll be out of it. Sorry about that. Why is George Bush making the rounds and expressing his doubts and some decisions of the current president? This man is as much of a part of the establishment that we took down in November 8th, 2006 as Hillary Clinton is. Get this out there, patriots. George W. Bush is not to be trusted. The bitchy Bush family does not want to make America great again. Bush has kept his mouth shut for the last 8 years and the last 2 years and months that all this has been going on. Now that Trump's president, he decides to speak up. And I'm going to add this. Just sell a book? Screw that. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below if you like what we're doing. And also, like the video to help support us. And that's all you have to do, is like the video and keep watching the videos. And that's all you need to do to continue fighting the good fight like we're doing here every day. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time at Not Fake News.